Antipodes, Chapter 28, Part 2. The tip of the airship jutted out over the edge of the pit, casting a shadow the land hadn't seen for thousands of years. Incendia was standing at the bottom of the pit, watching as Tiptoe laboriously lowered Jigsaw down the deep chasm. They gently touched down on the stale steaming ground, and looked out into the mouth of the cavern beneath it. Looming ahead of them, protected from the heat of the sun by an overhang of rock, was the huge metal door that led to the upper levels of the caves. "How can there be a fragment in there? Wouldn't you have noticed it if you had been living on top of it your whole life?" Incendia asked. "It doesn't work like that," Jigsaw said. "I didn't start sensing the fragments until after I got the first one. I still find it a little hard to believe, though, even for me." "What are we going to find inside?" Tiptoe asked nervously. You don't think they could all be dead, do you?" "It's a very real possibility," Jigsaw said solemnly. "But I have to believe they could have figured something out. I wasn't the only one that knew how the water system worked." "How are we going to get inside that huge door?" Incendia asked, staring up at its pock-marked face. "It's over 12 feet of solid steel, reinforced with magical crystals to keep us safe from the elements," Jigsaw explained. "The history books said it was built to be difficult to open from the inside, but easy to open from the outside. The founders wanted it to be opened easily if the world ever became habitable again and wanderers came across the entrance to the cave." "So, the caves were natural. They were here before the fall and your ancestors just moved into them?" Incendia asked. Jigsaw began tapping various spots on the cavern wall with his horn. As he wandered slowly around the space, he spoke. "Yes, it's the largest natural cave system in the world, or so they say. Used to be a tourist attraction, but during the Grand Cataclysm, the founders had the idea that we could hide away from the sun underground. It took quite a while to get the water system working well enough to support the population, but obviously it worked well enough. Ah, here we go." Jigsaw's horn began to glow, and a small pile of rubble near the door levitated away, revealing an ancient, battered-looking control panel. Jigsaw stared at the control panel for several seconds. "I don't know if I can do this," he said softly. Tiptoe trotted up to stand by his side. "What do you mean?" she asked. "Whatever we find in there, whatever happened to everyone we knew is my fault. If we open this door, there's going to be even more blood on my hooves. Even more ponies that died because I couldn't do my job right. And I don't." Jigsaw's words were cut off mid-sentence as Tiptoe pressed her lips to his. Incendia blushed intensely and averted her gaze. "Jigsaw, whatever happened in there was not your fault," she said when they pulled apart. "You were trying to do your job. No pony could have foreseen that sea serpent attack, and no pony could have done anything about it. There was no way to go back once we were in the subway." "Thank you, Tiptoe. Let's just get the door open. Together," Tiptoe replied. They each grabbed part of the corroded lever in their mouths and pulled. The ground instantly began to shake. From somewhere far off, alarm sirens blared. Then, with a deafening screech, the massive steel door began to retract into the dark, empty space behind it. A rush of air whirled past them, mixing with the dank, musty air inside the caves. Inside, massive gears could be seen whirring under the stress of moving the massive steel door. It was over in moments. The door stood wide open, and the entryway to the caves was spread before them. "Have you ever been this far up?" Tiptoe asked Jigsaw. "No, I never went above the main chamber. Never had any reason to. No water got up here, not enough pressure. Let's just get going." The glass-like surface of the underwater lake began to roil and bubble. Roil? You mean boil? Boil and bubble. An amorphous blob of green smoke suddenly broke the surface and darted to the edge of the water. With a flash of green, Tantalus was standing on the shore, smiling down at the gently rippling water. He raised his claws and gestured at the water's surface. A green light began to shine up from somewhere deep in the lake before him. With a screech so loud it shook loose stones from the walls. A sea serpent rose out of the water, swirling, coiling, and struggling against the bands of green light that were constricting its midsection. "My, you did cause a lot of trouble, didn't you?" Tantalus said with a grin. In response, the sea serpent opened its mouth and screeched. A bright white light began to build within its throat, but Tantalus waved his claw, causing the serpent's neck to arch away from him and the beam of energy to impact harmlessly with the water of the underground lake. Now, behave yourself. You may yet be of some use to me." The sea serpent screeched and writhed as Tantalus dissolved again into green smoke. This time, however, it floated towards the sea serpent, funneling into its mouth and nose until there was none left. The serpent's eyes began to glow green and, with a loud snap, the bonds holding it broke and it plunged into the lake below. Jigsaw's horn sparked as he placed it against one of the hundreds of pipes that snaked along the walls. They were several floors underground now, and they had not seen a single sign of life so far. "Nothing," Jigsaw confirmed, stepping back. "The pipe is bone dry. We're deep enough that if the water was working even intermittently, there should have been at least some moisture in the pipe, but—" "Jigsaw!" Incendia yelled from the darkness further down the stairwell. "Tiptoe, can you come down here?" "Yeah, sure," Tiptoe said, fluttering down the stairs with Jigsaw on her heels. "What's going—" Tiptoe's words were cut short by the scene before her. 3 earth ponies were directly in front of and to either side of Incendia, pointing what appeared to be sharpened stone rods at her neck. "What's going on?" Jigsaw asked. One of the earth ponies glanced at him, did a double take and lowered his makeshift spear slightly. "Jigsaw, is that actually you?" he asked, almost in awe. Jigsaw squinted to try and get a better look at the pony in the dim light of the magical torches on the walls. He was light brown, similar to Jigsaw, and his cutie mark was a miner's pickaxe. Jigsaw had vague memories of passing by him in the market. "It's me. Now let's just put the spears down, okay? We don't mean you any harm. We came to help." The brown pony glanced at his compatriots, and a silent understanding passed between them. In a fluid motion, they lifted their spears from Incendia and pointed them directly at Jigsaw. Instantly, flames erupted all over Incendia's body. The 3 ponies holding Jigsaw hostage stared at her wide-eyed. "How about you drop the spears right this second and I don't burn you alive?" Incendia threatened menacingly. The 3 earth ponies complied and quickly stepped back. "What are you?" one of them asked, staring at the bright white orbs that had replaced her eyes. "I am a unicorn with an especially special talent. Now you're going to answer my friend's questions, and you're not going to try anything cute." They all nodded eagerly. "Thanks, Incendia," Jigsaw said, rubbing the spots where the spears had made contact on his neck with one hoof. "What's going on? Why did you attack me?" "As if you don't know!" spat the 3rd earth pony, a burly, dark purple stallion. "You caused all of this!" Jigsaw glanced at Tiptoe and swallowed. "What do you mean?" "You were supposed to fix the water! Both of you! You were supposed to make it better!" he yelled. Instead, you vanished and the water stopped altogether. It wasn't my fault, Jigsaw started, then cut himself. Tell me what happened. If you'll let us, I can show you. The brown earth pony cut in. And Senya, stay close behind them, Jigsaw said. I want to see what they have to show us. Me too. Tiptoe chimed in. The flames covering Incendia's body dimmed until a single jet of flame danced at the tip of her horn. Let's get walking. The three earth ponies led Jigsaw down a highly familiar route. They were approaching the arboretum. You're not taking me to the main chamber to speak with the tribunal? Jigsaw inquired. The tribunal doesn't have any power anymore. One of the ponies responded from up ahead. You're going to see. They approached the doors that lead to the arboretum. The purple pony that had snapped at Jigsaw earlier gave the door an unceremonious kick and it swung open. There! You see what you did now? A horrible stench came rolling out of the arboretum, and Tiptoe yelled in horror and Incendia recoiled in disgust. Jigsaw blinked in disbelief, dumbfounded by what he saw and what he smelled. Inside the formerly lush and verdant space were hundreds of bodies. Ponies had been tossed haphazardly onto the shriveled, browned remains of the food crops. Splayed limbs and limp bodies lay haphazardly across the decaying fields of grain and wheat. Ponies of all shapes and sizes, from the youngest foals to the most elderly in the village, were strewn with little regard for their dignity. Oh, Celestia, Jigsaw uttered. What happened here? What do you think? The purple pony snapped. There was no water. Those that don't die of thirst killed each other to get what water was left or get torn apart by a monster trying to get to the lake. That's awful, Incendia gasped. You just pile them here? We normally cremate our dead, Jigsaw said. We didn't have the resources to keep operating the furnaces. The brown pony said. Everything happened so quickly. Every now and then a trickle of water comes through the pipes, but it's not enough to keep the plants, or us, alive. Close the door, Tiptoe whispered, turning her back to the horrible sight before her. I don't want to look anymore. The brown pony gently nudged the door with the top of his head, and the door creaked closed. How many are left? Jigsaw asked hollowly. About a quarter of us holed up in the main chamber, the purple pony responded. The three of us were part of a team checking the pipes for any moisture. We have to fix this, Jigsaw said emphatically. We can get the fragment later. I can't allow this. You? The purple pony sneered. You caused this whole disaster. Every pony blames you for it. It wasn't his fault, Tiptoe objected. There was nothing we could have done. We were attacked and forced into some kind of underwater cave. We were both hurt and you know no pony here knows how to swim. Then you should have died trying, the purple pony spat back. Instead of trying to save any of us, you ran away from it all. Then you come waltzing back in here all healthy and happy, looking to scavenge whatever you can off the dead? We don't want your help. I'd rather die with my dignity. Don't listen to him, the brown pony said. We have sent some of our own to try and fix the pump station, or at least get some water from the lake, but none of them have come back. We're all in shock. It all happened so quickly. We never realized how much we depended on the water supply until it was gone. Then we're going, Jigsaw said. I know the caves down here better than any pony else. We're going to make this right. Incendia, are you with us? Of course, Incendia said. It sounds like you're going to need some protection. Jigsaw turned to face the Earth Pony trio. I don't know who you are. I don't think we ever met while I was living here, but let me tell you this. I spent my every waking hour here trying to keep every pony safe and happy. I loved it here. When I left, it wasn't by choice. I'm going to make things right. Are you sure we're going the right way, Jigsaw? Incendia asked. Relax, Incendia, Jigsaw said, carefully sidestepping an unstable patch of ground. I've made this trip 5 times now. Before long, they emerged into the cavern that held the underground lake. Oh, Celestia, Incendia muttered. It's enormous. You could fit 12 of the airships we flew in here without running out of room. Like I said, the largest natural cave system in the world, Jigsaw replied. Now, come on, we have a job to do. The stone pathway that once led to the center of the lake was littered with the remains of the pump station. Shattered glass and twisted metal was strewn over the sand-colored stone. Far above them, in the ceiling of the cavern, twisted metal and pipes jutted out of the wall at odd angles. A constant cascade of water, the water that should have been going to the dying ponies above, was pouring out of the pipes and splattering against the stone below. How are you going to fix that? Tiptoe asked. We could barely keep the pressure up when the pump station was intact. Now look at it. I have an idea, Jigsaw said. All we need to do really is... The surface of the water broke with a blast of sound and a roar. A roar. The sea serpent rose up and out of the water, eyes glowing green, a light already forming in its throat. Incendia gulped. Crud.